Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Lego Lee 329 again here.
Hey guys, it's me, Hutch.
Alright, so we're going to be doing a podcast on The Dark Knight Rises, something don't normally do on my or his channel. And we're just going to be talking spoiler filled, so if you haven't seen the movie, I'm assuming most of you have on by right now, but if you haven't seen the movie, you should probably go see it, then come back and watch our podcast. Because we are going to spoil pretty much everything, so...
Yeah.
So, spoilers. If you want to hear my opinions on the movie without spoilers, I'll leave a link somewhere to my movie review. But whatever. So, yeah, let's get started with this podcast. We don't know how long it's going to go on for. We could probably ramble for like ever about this movie, but
Yeah, we could probably be longer than what the movie is.
yeah. So, let's get started. So, um, Hutch, what's your overall opinion of this film?
My overall opinion is that it is the best Batman film that they've made. I know it seems, everybody might disagree with me and say, like, The Dark Knight's better or whatever, but in my opinion, I like Batman Begins more than I like The Dark Knight, and I like this more than I like Batman Begins. So, overall, it's my favorite.
Wow.
For sure.
Okay, so I guess we'll just talk about what we liked, didn't like about the movie, and what better place to start than the beginning of the film. So, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the beginning of the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, because it was previewed and all that stuff, the movie's beginning is very strange. I think a lot of people don't really get the beginning of the movie. Like, like when talk to some of my friends about the movie, they have like no idea what's going on. They never realize it. That's why I would suggest going to see this movie multiple times, because you actually can
Yeah.
catch things that you didn't notice beforehand. But the beginning. You see a lot of this in the third trailer, especially. It's really just a brilliantly filmed scene.
They
Uh,
really did it.
yeah. I mean,
Over Scotland. It's filmed in Scotland.
yeah, and I watched this thing where, like I don't know what to call it, but a video where like behind the scenes, where they're showing how they made that scene. Like most of that stuff is real. I mean, like
Yeah.
they have like helicopters holding up like these fake frames of airplanes. It's like ridiculous how realistic they were. It's like Christopher Nolan wants to make everything look as realistic as possible because
Exactly, just like it did with Inception.
yeah, so like everything looks ridiculously real in this scene, and I think it really. I don't know if it's as good as The Dark Knight's opening 5 minutes. I mean, they're
Oh
both,
yeah, the Dark Knight's opening 5 minutes were kind of funny. I mean, well, yeah, they were funny to me, and then kind
but
of weird. It was funny.
yeah,
I mean, it's the guys shooting each other.
but I think both scenes really like introduce these new villain characters. Like you get this really great feel for how Bane or the Joker is going to be
It's really the
throughout this movie.
thesis of
Yeah.
there.
Like in The Dark Knight, we kind of got this feel like, oh crap, the Joker's mentally insane and he's like killing everything. In this one, we got this feel like Bane, he knows what he's gonna do. He's got all these like workers working for him, and he's a mastermind planner. Like he has a plan, um, which is actually a line in that scene. But
Yeah,
the opening scene is just really very good, like very well made. There's a lot of great dialogue, lots of Bane one-liners are really, really, really great, which is awesome. So, I mean, just a really, really good scene.
yes.
But I feel like the movie after that scene, I mean, the movie is fantastic, but it slows down.
Yeah, at that point it slows down. It really does at the beginning there.
Yeah,
You get this. The next part really is, it does, the overview of Gotham, which I love the overview shots in this film.
Oh,
And
yeah,
the fact that they use Pittsburgh to film most of it, L.A., New York, is
Yeah.
really cool. But the most part, I mean, when it slows down, it almost resumes back to where we left in The Dark Knight, except it's now 8 years later,
yeah,
and Batman hasn't really been in action at all because of the events that happened after the end of the second movie.
yeah.
So you got Commissioner Gordon there, who's been holding this lie for that long amount of time, and it's just really eating at him. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know when the right time is to tell the truth and stuff like that. And he really debates this throughout the movie. And I mean, I really like that aspect of it because it really shows what happens when you let a lie
Yeah.
build up over a long period of time. Eventually, it does come back and eat you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like going for the approach that Batman's been gone for 8 years was really good, besides the sense that they had to pick the movie back up. And it just ended up, adding an extra 15 minutes or so to the movie that really, it worked, but it didn't have to be there in the long run, I feel like. Like, I feel like it would have made more sense Batman not to be gone for 8 years, maybe 4 years, like,
yeah,
4 years would have made perfect sense because it's been 4 years since the last movie. I feel like that way,
yeah.
it like keep up like
Technology would be up to date and all that stuff.
yeah. I mean,
But
like, is this movie set in 2016 or is it set? I mean, no one knows really, but
yeah, really, really, you don't know.
I mean, this movie could be set.
Well, technically, because The Dark Knight, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure The Dark Knight takes place maybe about 6 months after Batman Begins.
So not
So,
much.
or was it a year? It's about 6 months or a year after Batman Begins.
Yeah,
It's not a long period of time.
yeah, because at the very end of Batman Begins, obviously.
So therefore, Dark Knight might actually take place back in 2005
Yeah.
or 2006,
So we're like
which
in
means that 8 years later
like
would be
13.
about 2014. So we're
Yeah.
just 2 years. It's
Yeah.
just 2 years ahead of us.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
I just feel like we're like debating like when this movie is set.
We're just,
But I mean, those scenes, they're very good, and the dialogue is great, obviously, but they're just
yeah.
a little bit slow. It
It
does
is. I
pick
mean,
up.
I like the introduction of how when they introduced Catwoman at the
Oh,
beginning too.
yeah.
That was funny. I mean,
She's like,
he's just like, they told me that safe was uncrackable. She's acting all innocent. Oh, sir, I didn't know. And then she's like,
oops, I didn't know it was uncrackable. No, yeah, when
I
like,
didn't know it was uncrackable.
yeah, but when Bruce Wayne like almost kills her when he like shoots the arrow,
Yeah.
and she's acting all innocent, then she like kicks his cane and he falls over. That was
Yeah.
fun. But that was
He's really treated like an old man in those scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really gone Howard Hughes on everyone. Which
yeah,
again, like Christopher Nolan wanted to make a movie about Howard Hughes back before he made Batman, but because the movie The Radiator came out,
The Radiator?
not Radiator, yeah, Aviator, which starred Leonardo DiCaprio, which he played Hughes in another movie, but he was actually supposed to direct that, and then instead he took on Batman, so he never was able to do that movie, so he was able to apply it into this, which was pretty cool.
yeah, the
Being jars and stuff.
yeah the 9-inch nail. But so that was good. But the movie really like the first time that when I got like these utter chills down my back was the motorcycle chase sequence.
Yes. The wall. Actually, it was. I mean, it was right before that. It was Wall. I mean,
Or the
the whole thing when they filmed it at Wall Street, which
Yeah.
was really cool because they do this whole shoot up in there, and they're
yeah,
what they're trying to do is Bane comes in there and he wants to take away the Wayne Enterprises' entire financial,
yeah,
for the finance. He's trying to rob them bankrupt, basically.
yeah, and then like that scene, everyone's freaked out, and
Yeah, and then Bane comes out like he takes something from someone. He says, "Thank you."
Yeah.
He uses manners,
yeah, he's
and
strangely well-mannered villain. But
right after that is when that huge motorcycle scene takes place. All of a sudden, these motorcycles come out with various hostages coming
Yeah.
back, and they're just
they're
going
like
all out all over the city. And then you hear the whole Bane theme begin, like boom, boom.
yeah,
They really gave him a cool theme in this one too. I have to say, it's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. But
it's very like fast and
yeah, very fast,
energetic.
very boom, boom, boom. Just
If
bang.
I mean, it's featured kind of a lot in that one trailer, the fourth one,
yeah,
the Nokia, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, his his theme was very good in this movie. But I really just love the part, like when they're in the parking garage and the lights go out. I'm like,
yeah, the lights go out.
I was like,
and then all of a sudden,
yes, and then you hear the that kind of like the Batman theme.
Batman theme's about to come on.
I'm like,
Dun,
oh,
dun,
here's.
dun, 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 dun,
I'm like-
dun, dun, dun.
I'm like, finally, here's Batman,
Yeah.
and you see him in the motorcycle. His cape is like flowing, and
yes.
he has
And then
that.
like he shoots the power above them out and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then like the policeman shoots at him, and then he turns around and gives him a glare.
Yeah, he like doesn't he shoot his gun? The policeman,
Yeah, he shoots his gun at him, and he turns around and he does the back glare, and he's like,
and he's like the policeman's
Sorry.
like, okay, never mind. Oh, But yeah, and that guy was like, I love that one like kind of chubby older policeman. He's like, "Oh boy, you're in for a
In for
show
a show
tonight,
tonight,
son."
son.
I'm like, and he's like, that was really great scene. And then I remember one of the first images leaked in The Dark Knight Rises was when he was holding that like computer iPad thing, and
Yes.
everyone's like, "The Bat iPad," and I was like, "Well, in the movie, he doesn't use the iPad; he just holds it."
It's not even his. It's technically Bane's, and
Yeah,
just
he just like
take.
didn't kill the guy, but he like beat up the dude and took it from him to
Yeah.
realize what was going on. But
I thought it was also really cool when all the police cars at that point, they all just stopped following Bane.
yeah,
They go after Batman, and this huge chase goes through. I remember they filmed that one. That was still, I don't think it was in New York. No, that was in New York.
yeah,
No, you know what? That was in L.A. I
yeah,
think that was in L.A. They filmed that scene in L.A.
yeah,
And they were so that's the huge chase and stuff. And there were these police cars and everything. I mean, people would, record in stock, which might still be
yeah.
on YouTube. Where they leaked footage of when they were going through the streets. They'd look out from their windows and they'd film them going by.
That'd be so cool. But
Yeah, and so then we're introduced to the character. Oh, what's his name? Foley. We're introduced to the character Foley, and John Blake,
yeah,
the two new policemen. And John Blake's an interesting character throughout the movie, and I think it's really cool how they added him into the story. He's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
yeah, of course.
And Levitt or whatever it is, but
Yeah,
yeah. So and then Morgan Freeman, he introduced Batman to the Bat. So in that big chase, he goes into the corner. I really love this part. It's like
oh yeah,
we got him like a rat, and then all of a sudden the big bat like lights up and it just flies out. And then he's like, I think you got the wrong animal there, sir.
that was funny. And then yeah, the deputy commissioner guy is like very confident that he's gonna like kill Batman or arrest him or something. And then all
Yeah,
of a sudden this
that was
like
cool.
magical plane just comes out of nowhere with like crazy like maneuvering abilities. The bat worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Like
Yeah, same here. I thought it would be like
kind of
clunky and stuff like
yeah.
that, but
I mean like it did like when I first saw the pictures I'm like that thing doesn't look like it could fly. But
right,
the way they did it, it had like a giant propeller on the back section
right.
kind of, and it wasn't a plane. It was more of like a helicopter hovering thing.
Yeah, it's like a hover vehicle.
Yeah,
But it was really cool.
it was like I don't know how to describe it. You have to see the movie really to understand exactly what we're talking about. But that thing was pretty sweet, and
Yeah, and then I love the scene where he and Catwoman are together and they fight.
yeah,
They fight off the minions and stuff like that. And then that scene where the bat comes flying up and they have to escape. And the funny thing is with Batman, he's like, no guns. It's the first time. Didn't you say that was the first time he actually talks?
No, the first line he says is Catwoman's fighting, and he's like, she says something, and then Batman, and it's like, they know, they just don't care. That's the first time you actually hear him talk.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then then Batman tells her, no killing, no guns, no killing, and then she's like, what's
She's
the
like,
fun
where's
in
the fun in that?
Yeah. And then Bane's like showing up, and you hear like all the weird music, and they get off, and then she says that line. It's obviously in the trailer. It's like, my mother warned me about keeping the car so strange. And Bane's like, this isn't a car, and I'm like, oh. And then they fly away. I really love the part where they're standing on the rooftop, and they're like talking, and Batman's about to like talk to Catwoman. He's like, Selena, but then she's not there, and he's like, so that's what that feels like.
Yes. He was like, hey, taste your own medicine.
And that was hilarious. We haven't even talked about Commissioner Gordon or any.
Oh yes, Commissioner Gordon. Well, the reason why is because really in this first part of the movie, he doesn't exactly hold up. Like I said, he's holding up this lie that's going on and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Commissioner Gordon apparently throughout in part of the film where he John Blake and Foley are looking for they're looking for what happened to this. Well, the thing is, Selena Kyle kidnaps this senator.
Yeah.
And she was trying to get the fingerprints of Bruce Wayne in order for Bane to come along and go to Wall Street and shut down their stock and stuff like that. So, so she did this whole thing with them, and the police came because they were looking for the senator, and so they followed the kid. Well, I mean the Bane's minions who she was working with.
Yeah.
And they went down into the Commissioner Gordon goes down into the sewers, and when that happens, he gets injured and stuff, and
He
so
gets
he's
shot.
brought to Bane, and
Bane is shirtless, and he's like so ripped. He does not have a six pack.
yeah,
His stomach looks like a rock. It's like
it's just a rock.
it's just a rock. It's like he doesn't have a six pack, but it's his stomach. It sticks out. It almost looks like he has a pot belly.
Yeah,
But
that's what
like
happens when you exercise the
yeah,
wrong way. What happened? I believe Tom Hardy. He didn't. It's true. You really can. If you exercise the wrong way and you don't tuck your stomach in when you do it, you won't get a six pack. In fact, it will go flop the other way.
yeah. But I mean, it made him look like ridiculously buff,
Yeah.
and you
So
know,
yeah, he sees it and he's about to die. So then Commissioner Gordon rolls off into the sewer or something, and he escapes.
almost
He's
drowns,
injured,
and
and then Bane. I love this part where Bane like tells him, "What do we do, sir? He just went off into the sewers," and he's like, "Follow him."
and he shoots
And
him.
then he shoots him, and he goes rolling away in the sewer.
But
And his minion, but yeah. So then John Blake finds him, and they take Commissioner Gordon to the hospital, which is where he is pretty much half the film.
yeah,
He's in the hospital,
until
and
the big
things start. Yeah. So when that happens, John Blake feels like he feels like he has to step in and go to Bruce Wayne because he figures out somehow that he was Batman.
well because when John Blake is an orphan, which we'll talk about that later because it relates to something, but he's an orphan, and Bruce Wayne like donated to that orphanage at one point in time, and he came to visit the orphans. And I remember John Blake was talking about like Bruce Wayne came up with like a sweet car, like a hot girl,
Yeah.
and he's like Bruce Wayne, billionaire orphan, and Bruce Wayne kind of looks at him like, go away, and
Yeah.
but then he's like, I always knew who you are, and he knows who Batman is,
Yes.
so. And he gives all these speeches about him like putting on masks and all this stuff, which
Yep.
kind of alludes to something, which we'll talk about later. But so he gives all these speeches, and he knows who Bruce Wayne is actually, Batman. So I thought that was really good. He's kind of the person who really, Bruce Wayne didn't want to at first, but he kind of goes back into this Bat universe. So
Pretty much, it's kind of like it's almost for him. He and Selena are the two reasons he basically goes back into his Bat form. And the new Batcave is really cool too.
yeah.
Now it's got stuff that rises.
It's very simple. It's just got these like little platforms that are underwater, basically, and then they just come out of the ground. I liked that the Batcave. I loved his computers in the Batcave because It was like two computers, like people in offices have. It wasn't some ridiculous computer that no one ever is going to have, like like in some of the old Batcaves, like especially the Lego Batcave sets. It's like he has these computers that are like, like 70-inch wide TVs. It's like, no. I'm like, why does he need that?
Yeah.
I'm like, but that was kind of like a reference to those. He actually has a computer in his Batcave, but it wasn't much of a one.
Exactly.
But
and then Alfred in the story, he plays a big role. He's there a lot at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, like after 45 minutes in the movie, he's like
disappears.
He just disappears. He tells him he doesn't want to watch him go back into Batman because he's afraid that he wants to go back
and die,
kill himself and die.
Yeah. But
he doesn't want to be there for that because he's watched enough members of the Wayne family die. So,
yeah, so he's like,
I have to leave you, and then he tells him about the letter that he burned from Rachel.
Yeah.
In the second movie. Bruce doesn't believe him.
Yeah, but so Alfred leaves, and you never see him again until the very, very end. Which I mean, I was really liking how much he was in the movie. Like he was like the second main character in the movie, besides Bruce Wayne, pretty much for those first few minutes.
The first half, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he just disappears, and I feel like they could have like brought him back in at some point. Like
that's okay. They gave us a lot more Morgan Freeman in this movie.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman, like usually he's more of like a cameo-ish appearance. Like he's in it for like 10, 15 minutes.
He really takes up the Alfred role after Alfred leaves.
Yeah, playing the old.
Like literally, like the next person who comes to the door right after that is Alfred.
Yeah, you mean Lucius? But
Yeah.
But
Sorry, it's not Alfred. Yeah.
So, the main scene in this movie, well, not the main, but like the main there's kind of multiple climaxes, I would say, but like the first climax, like the first like scene where Gotham kind of goes down into ashes
Yeah,
is
the
the
football
football.
stadium. Everything's like blowing up in Pittsburgh, and
Yeah.
they
So
got the Heinz Stadium for the football
yeah,
stadium,
they
which is
got the
cool because there's a lot of stock footage on there
yeah
where people were just recording in the audience.
yeah
Like
they got
afterwards, gave away iPads and cars and stuff.
oh yeah
Stadium.
they got
That's why Bane's an awesome villain. He gives away prizes after he does something.
yeah so they got the Steelers to come on. I don't know the other team. Rapid City, I think it was. Which I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
Rapid City is like a tiny city in like Colorado or something. I'm not really quite sure about that, but it's not. It seems like they would have done like Chicago or something, not
that'd be
Rapids.
funny.
Yeah,
That
but
was the team they. That's the cities they used for. That's the city they used for the first two movies.
they should have had
Which kind of stinks. I don't understand why they didn't film Chicago in the third one.
yeah
But
they should have had like the Metropolis something like reference to that, or just
yeah,
to be like like never really mention it. Just have it like on their jersey, say like Metropolis or
yeah,
something.
Metropolis.
That would have been funny. Fanboys would have gone crazy for that. So but this football scene, you realize, well, during the stock market scene, there's this one construction worker who's like blocking off exits and stuff. And at first it just kind of seems like, wait, why is that even in the movie? But then you realize John Blake goes to this construction site and he sees him again. He actually
John Blake's a detective now.
yeah, he ends up killing the guy. But he figures out that they're not making cement; they're making explosives. So they're making explosives, and Bane has put these explosives like all under the city.
So yeah,
And the
and then
mayor is like, the mayor of Gotham is evil, like he's working with Bane or something. And
no, the mayor of Gotham is not evil.
I thought
He's trying to ignore the issue and stuff like that because he doesn't see how it's a problem. Because Commissioner Gordon kept telling them about the man in the sewers and stuff like that,
yeah,
and it's become more and more relevant after the whole stock exchange thing.
yeah,
They believe him now, so they send all the police down there, like 3,000 people down there,
yeah.
which is
But
all the police in Gotham, and they're going down into the tunnels and stuff like that. And these explosives, John Blake figures out, was actually to trap them inside the tunnel.
yeah,
Pretty much.
all
More
right, guys.
comments.
Sorry that it cut off there. Okay, so we were about to talk about Bane and Batman's epic battle down in the sewers. So yeah. So
Yep.
in this scene, it's a very famous scene from the comics. I'm sure it was one of the things I'm like you know, I kind of got this implication from the trailer that it was going to happen that Bane breaks the bat, and you'll see if obviously a big spoiler here. Um, so Catwoman leads Bruce Wayne, Batman, down into the sewers, which the sewers were like the tunnels are like subway tunnels that weren't active or something. Is that what they were? They were
Yeah, there
like
were
I
subway
noticed they were
tunnels that weren't active.
yeah there weren't train track. There were train tracks, but they're like it seemed like the subways would be coming and like hitting everybody, but so I'm assuming they weren't active, and then they were like connected to the sewers somehow. But so so Catwoman like leads Batman into this room where Bane is staying, and this is one of the better scenes in the movie. It's very interesting how they filmed this scene because there's no music. They completely just silent. The music's very, very, noticeable. Even in some of the talkie scenes in this movie, it's very noticeable. And but in this scene, they cut out all the music. It's kind of like the action movies sometimes where all you can hear is the fists hitting each other. People punching each other. It's very, and I think they did that very well. It's like the only scene really in the movie where they completely just like got rid of the music and it actually worked perfectly. I mean, I'm sure they could have fit music in this movie somehow, but in this scene somehow, but like it actually worked perfectly for there not to be music, which is kind of surprising knowing these movies. But I thought that was just well, one of the better lines is Bane has a lot of great lines in that scene, but he talks about Batman. He's like, "I'm going to show you where I make my home, and then I will break you." So,
Yes.
which where he made his home is he gets this little thing and he blows up, and one of the camouflage tumblers falls from the sky. And then you're like, oh crap, he's found, Bruce Wayne's arsenal of weapons and whatnot. So Bane's got all these crazy weapons. That's not good. And then he grabs Batman and
Yeah, and then
he breaks him. He like gets his knee and pushes Batman down his knee. It doesn't look very pleasant. And
it's very
then you
uncomfortable.
have that scene from the trailer where he's like walking away and he drops Batman's mask.
Yes.
But yeah, so then Batman goes to what some people think is the Lazarus Pit, which it. I mean, I understand. I don't really know exactly. I mean, I think it's just kind of more like Christopher Nolan knew what that was, and he knew people are going to freak out about it. So he kind of, reference to it, but it's never specifically called like, "Hey, you're in the Lazarus Pit, Batman." It's just a jail basically. But he gets to this jail, but and then you have the line where actually it's the same part. Remember, he said, "Your punishment must be more severe," and
But must be more severe.
yeah, he says that, and he says, "My permission." We cut off again.
Again.
Yay! Yeah, Audie, yeah. Oh, okay. No Jar Jar Binks in this movie. Okay,
Yeah.
well, trust you, there's no one like Jar Jar Binks in this movie. Okay.
Yes, thankfully.
So, we were talking about the Lazarus Pit, and
Yes.
so, it's never specifically mentioned that he's in the Lazarus Pit. It's, you kind of get the feeling, it's, but no one really knows for a fact, unless Christopher Nolan comes out and says, hey, he was in the Lazarus Pit. But, so, Bane gives that whole speech where he says, when Gotham is ashes, I give you my permission to die, and your punishment must be more severe. That's actually all, like, in a minute's time in the movie, which kind of seemed weird, because that, like, gave away the entire speech in the trailer, which,
Yeah.
I mean,
It basically just raised it. Basically just revealed the whole thing and stuff. But
which, I mean, that's, like, the only part I didn't like about the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, the trailer, it's like the same thing with, like, the Avengers when they showed the Hulk catching Iron Man. Like, no, like, cut that out of the trailer, and it would have been perfect.
I want to see that. Just surprised that Hulk ends up helping
Yeah,
everyone.
because when I was watching the Avengers, my mom hadn't really seen the trailer, so she didn't know. But I had like watched the trailer like 100 times, so I like knew what was going to happen like in these scenes. I'm like, like I don't want them. Like besides that, the trailers
Yeah,
are
they
perfect.
made like basically every scene in that movie.
Like
Trailers.
yeah, but
Pretty
like
much.
the trailers for both of those movies didn't spoil crap about the film. Like you didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know that.
Right.
Like especially in this movie, I had no freaking idea that there was going to be a nuclear bomb involved at all. Like, it wasn't in the trailers. It's never like, oh, we must stop the nuclear bomb. Like, no, they completely cut off probably like one of the biggest plot points in the whole movie from the trailer.
I knew it, but that's only because I knew the whole back, like the production.
Well, I didn't. I kind of avoided.
I mean, there were a lot of things they didn't speak about even in the production notes. So
Yeah.
It was just a big surprise. Like they said that Alfred was supposed to be the one in the hospital, not Gordon.
But I was like I purposely avoided watching as many things as possible. So I'm like, I don't want to know what's gonna happen because,
I watched everything because I couldn't wait to see it. That's just how I am.
Well, I watched a lot of like the trailers and all that stuff, but I purposely avoided anything that like seemed to have spoilers at all, because the ending of this movie was really great, but we'll get onto that later. So,
Yep.
but in the Lazarus Pit, Batman, or the pit, we'll just call it the pit. Batman, his back is broken. I mean, I think it's broken. I mean, that's what it's in the comic books. It kind of seemed like his discs, like in his back, were like loose. I don't really know exactly what was going on, but there's this really cringe, not cringe like bad, like cringe, like it seemed like it hurt. Seeing where this like doctor dude like puts him on this thing and pushes one of the discs in his back in, and Batman's like, ah! I'm like, oh gosh. But then there comes a cameo appearance like after that while he's sitting in that thing where he's talking to Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul kind of explains that Bane is Ra's al Ghul's son, which was kind of a strange thing. And when I was watching the movie, I was kind of like, what? I'm like, why would they do that? But you learn later that that's complete crap. But so so I feel like I've heard like a lot of fanboys were like, ew, no, they're messing up the story. Like, what? Didn't watch the movie. Well, just kidding. But They're like, ew, this is terrible. Christopher Nolan's a terrible director. He's mixing up the stories too much. Which I wonder if Nolan kind of knew that was going to happen, so he threw that in, then he changes it very.
Yeah.
But so Bane actually isn't Ra's al Ghul's son, but
Yeah.
so that was a very interesting part of the movie, you know, learning that Bane was supposed to be Ra's al Ghul's son. The Batman, like right after that happens, he stands up, he tries to do the pit thing, he fails once. He actually gets to the top, tries to do, well, we gotta explain this jump first. So it's like a rock climbing wall, a little bit harder, you know, there's little ledges, and it's like, you know, it's kind of like cobblestone, or I don't know what to call it, like, you know, like castle looking things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you have like a keep of a castle where it's all circular, it's like climbing up one of those, where the stones kind of like there are very, you know, it's obviously like the technology wasn't existing when they made it, so the stones aren't
Right.
very, you know, like some of the stones might slip out, which does happen. At one point, he grabs on the stone and it slips out in his second attempt, but you know, but the stones stick out big enough that you can put your feet on them
Yep.
and you can climb up. So, and they also give him this rope, and then you get to the top where there's this ledge and there's another ledge, and you had to jump. I mean, I never really quite caught how far it was, like maybe 8, 10 feet or something. Like it was a pretty far jump, obviously, and no one had ever done it besides the child of Ra's al Ghul, which you think is Bane for the whole time. Like, you know, Bane had done it. But then
Yeah.
later on, Batman is talking to this old dude who never really says anything, but at one point he does say something. He's like, "Do it like the child did." He's like, "Without the rope." So Batman does do it without the rope. So basically, if he doesn't make it, he's screwed.
Right.
So like, if he doesn't make it, he's dead. So he's got to do it. So he tries, and he makes it. But that scene was so well done because the music was great, and they
Yep.
had the Moses people with the crazy beards. Like,
Yeah, those people.
they're like, ha ha, ha ha, he. The funny thing, I really loved how they made in the trailers that chant seem like Bane's chant. But
Yes,
that's
but it's really Batman's.
it's
chant.
Batman's chant. It's the Rise chant.
Yep.
So you see Batman, you know, he's jumping and it's like all slow motion. The music stops. Then he grabs onto the ledge. Everyone starts cheering, and the Batman theme starts playing.
Yep.
That was like Batman, and I was like, yeah, I was like in my seat. I was like Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, we were all cheering in the
Like,
audience.
"Whoa, Batman!"
We also that was the only other time we cheered, I think, besides the part where Scarecrow cameos.
Yes, Scarecrow.
For some reason, the audience we had, they were so excited when Scarecrow was in it. It was just like everybody was
Yeah.
clapping.
Yeah, but when Scarecrow,
I was like, that's really only clap at that part. But even I clapped, and I couldn't help it. So
but
it's a cool surprise.
yeah,
I think that was like the coolest surprise. One of the coolest surprises of the entire movie was Scarecrow was in it.
yeah, Scarecrow. I kind of thought he was going to be a cameo. He cameos twice, which is kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
so he's like, he does this, like, he's the judge of this crazy court that they made, and he basically gives all these people either death or exile, and exile is basically death. So
because you have to walk across the frozen ice.
And
Which
the
makes
ice
me wonder,
is-
like in the summertime, what was the exile then? Do you think they had to swim across?
I mean, they could swim across, but you know, walking across is like he walks
Maybe
like
they
10
didn't have
feet.
exile as an option until the winter came.
Yeah.
So like when the winter came, they're like, okay, we can throw in the option of exile now. That's a great idea. Yeah, let's do that. Make more
Yeah.
combinations.
Well, so you know, Scarecrow's cameo was really great. My theater kind of more like had this strange laugh cheer to them. They were like kind of like, oh, haha, the Scarecrow. And they're like, hey, you know, like, and some people like, I think like my dad's like, who's that? I'm like, it's Scarecrow. He's like, oh, because he's like, you know, hasn't like followed the movies as crazily as I have. And then he's like, is that guy in Inception? I'm like, yeah, he was, like every other actor in this movie. And
Yeah,
then
I took my mom to see it. She basically followed it because I had her watch the other movies,
yeah,
so she liked it a lot.
but so that was a great moment. And Commissioner Gordon ends up going to this thing, and he chooses death basically. And
Yep,
this is
and then then Scarecrow goes, sold, death. by exile.
And then, so he walks out onto the ice, and then you see the people following him get these little like bat darts, like they're miniature batarangs that like
In the
knocked
dick.
them out, and then
Batman comes out of the shadows.
Well-
and he sees this little flare, and he's like,
Yeah.
light it up, and he lights it up, and then
you
it's
see Batman's face, and then you don't see Batman. He's like, light it up, and then he lights the flare, and the smoke goes, and you see Batman like walk forward like it is in the trailer. and then
Yeah.
he throws the flare onto this little like spot, and it catches this thing on fire, which ends up going up. And I don't. Batman seems to damage someone's building. He burns this guy's building.
Yeah.
So he makes
Actually, no,
this.
it's a bridge. It's still part of the bridge.
Yeah. So he.
And then Foley looks outside and he's like, he's back! Because they were planning this whole... But, like, I like this part of the movie a lot, too. I really like this aspect because everybody's planning an escape for the police.
Yeah.
A way to rise up against the evil,
Yeah.
basically, empire that Bane's created,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So they're all trying to plan this out and stuff. So he goes to Foley and asks him to help him leave the battle, and he's like, no, he doesn't want to. So when he sees that, Foley gets a lot more hope when he sees it. So
Yeah.
then Blake tries to get his friend to help him escape from the tunnel, and it doesn't
Asian
work.
guy.
So Batman helps him out.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
he
you get
saves
more.
him, and the whole Batman thing plays again, and then
But so that was a great scene when they, of course, they get all the cops to escape, and you see this a lot in the trailer. It seems like nowadays, if you want to have a really good climax ending to your movie, do it in daylight. Like
yes.
The Dark Knight Rises, all in daylight. Everything's as clear as day. Avengers, all in daylight. You know, it seems weird because a lot of the times I always get this implication that it's at nighttime. You know, it's like night's more.
There's an artistic perspective of the fact they did it in the morning because the sun is rising.
Yeah.
You know, all the people of Gotham. That's the first time Batman comes out in the daytime.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
that was filmed in Pittsburgh for the most part.
Yeah. But you have like 3,000 cops versus a bunch of these thug Gotham mercenary people. So you got these guys, and they're all battling, and that's a pretty cool scene. Then they get up to Blackgate Prison, where the Harvey Dent prison place, and you see Bane is like, he's been preaching on that place for a long time, and he's kind of like standing there. He's rocking sleeves now for some reason, and you know, Batman comes up and they start fighting again, but Batman's like more ready this time, and he knows what to do.
Yeah, he like destroys Bane.
Yeah,
basically.
Basically, what he does is
he has the coolest line.
Oh, but okay, well, so what he's doing is he's punching towards Bane, and he hits his mask, and his mask gets a little bit loose, and his mask is what's keeping you never really know exactly what it does, but it like keeps pain from going from his body. And when he gets hit in the mask, you can see him. He's still ridiculously strong, but he kind of looks like his clothes got less tight or something, and they got like more loose, and he didn't look like as ripped as he was before, which is kind of a good thing. And then they go inside like the main part of Blackgate Prison, where this statue was. Was that a statue of Harvey Dent? I couldn't.
It might have been.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. It was like a bust of him, I think. But have we even talked about the car that has the bomb in it?
Oh yeah, there's also this big car that has they put the bomb on.
Yeah, it's like an army truck that has the nuclear bomb that Bane.
So they've been trying to track it for like months.
And there's like 3 of the cars.
So Commissioner Gordon, that's basically Commissioner Gordon's part of the big battle. He's trying to lead the secret brigade.
Yeah.
I love how they have these little side stories. Blake's going out with these orphans and stuff and trying to get them to get off the island. And then Commissioner Gordon's trying to track down where the bomb is. That way they can't remote detonate it. Or,
yeah.
You know.
But
so they have to,
there's like multiple, there's like 3 of the trucks, right? So, and I remember when Blake like always marked where the truck was with the bat signal if he was tracking it. And so that was cool. But so you see through this truck, and this truck ends up playing a big part. Well, so Batman's fighting Bane in this spot, and well, at one point Batman gave Catwoman the bat pod, and Catwoman basically like implied that she's just gonna run away, and Batman's like, "That's more to you than that."
We all know she's not.
And he's like,
I'm gonna run away. Okay, I'm back.
But and then she's like, "There's more to you than that," and then she's like, "Come with me, baby," and I'm like, "No, just kidding." But and then so Batman's fighting Bane, and he's like got Bane on the ground, and he's like, "Where's the trigger?" And then Bane like doesn't tell him. He's like, and then he says it's the greatest comeback after Bane said, "When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die." Batman's like, "And when the trigger is pulled, you have my permission to die." And I was like, "Yeah, whoa, Batman!" But that was like the Batman. I was like, "Batman!" And at that moment, like I think everyone was like, "Whoa, let's go, Batman!" But that was a great moment. But then you realize, and then he's talking about like the child of Ra's al Ghul. Then he's like, then Miranda Tate comes up and he's like, "But he's not the child of Ra's al Ghul." And he's like, "I am," and stabs him like in the ribs. And then Bane's like, not Bane, Batman's like, oh, what? The girl I had sex with earlier? Like, basically, like, I had been, like, in love with in some ways, is actually evil. Crap.
Yep.
But you actually notice Batman, he, like, loses his Batman voice. He's like, Miranda? And he's like, talks about Bruce, and then,
She ends up being Talia.
yeah, and then she ends up being Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and wants to fulfill Ra's al Ghul's destiny.
Yeah.
So that was very strange. I had heard something about her being Talia, so I tried to, but then I kind of got this mindset that she wasn't Talia because she like denied it and all this crap, and
Yeah.
so like when that happened, I was like, oh crap, she actually was Talia. Like kind of like hit me real hard. I'm like, oh great. But so she was Talia, and she gets in one of the tumblers, and she gets in the car with the bomb, and Batman and Bane are
She
still.
kills Foley.
Yeah.
Kills Foley.
Yeah, she does kill Foley, but the one thing that I thought was weird is she's like, you spared Gotham 11 minutes. 5 minutes later, there's only 10 minutes left, and then 2 minutes later, there's like 5 minutes left. It didn't make any sense what they're going with the time on the little clock.
Well, what happened, I bet you, is they're trying to get through the different parts of the story. Like, this was happening a little bit before.
And it's all like,
this was happening a little bit before. This was happening a little bit before. That kind of comes together towards the end.
Yeah, but so that was interesting. But so then Batman and she fixes Bane's mask, and he stands up. He's like, "You both know I had to kill you now." Well, she told Batman that he has to see the fire, and then Bane's like, "You just have to imagine the fire." And then the last time,
You just have to imagine the fire.
So then Catwoman shows up. Yeah, then Catwoman shows up and hits him with the bat pods, like missile things. And some people are like, "How is that going to kill Bane?" If you remember, Catwoman destroyed all of those cars sitting in front of that tunnel that was blocking out the tunnel that they had stacked up. All those cars, like they were destroyed. So I think that thing could kill a person, even if it's a ridiculously strong person like Bane. It probably killed him. So then they find the car. Commissioner Gordon helps like crash the car with the bomb into the thing, and Batman shows up with the bat, and he makes out with Catwoman, and Talia dies, and
he tells Commissioner Gordon who he is.
Yeah, sort of.
He has to take care of the bomb himself because they couldn't flood it.
Yeah, they couldn't. They didn't have enough time. There's only a couple minutes left, and then this is great. I love the part where he talks about. He tells Mr. Gordon he's like a hero can be anyone. Someone who does something as simple, put a coat over a little boy, tell him the world hasn't ended, or something like that. And I'm like, it's kind of funny because I'm like, Commissioner Gordon's had to have done that multiple times.
It's like, oh no, well,
no, never mind. I've only done it to one kid ever in my life, but who cares?
It's like he doesn't does the same thing twice. It's like, oh, another orphan. Why don't I pat him on the back this time?
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard. Someone said that.
Yeah.
I was watching some review and somebody said something like that.
But whatever. It doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah.
So he does that, and figures out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's like, Bruce Wayne? He kind of like doesn't believe it at first. He's like, Bruce Wayne? Wait, what? Bruce Wayne? And I'm like, why would Bruce Wayne be doing this crap? So he does that. The Batman flies up with the bomb, and then Batman, he uses the missiles from the bat and blows up like part of this building, and all the orphans and John Blake are like, oh crap! The explosions happen. They like duck and cover. But then the one kid, the weird Indian kid who had been talking about Batman the whole time, it's like, no, it's Batman, and you hear the Batman thing, it's like, and
yes, of course,
the Batman theme, and then it gets to this really sad music while Batman's basically doing the same thing Iron Man did in the Avengers. Anyone notice that? Kind of pulling the Iron Man, risking himself.
Except in Avengers, the whole missile thing was kind of like thrown in there to me. Like I was like, oh, right, there's a missile.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
But yeah. So here
it's like, okay, there's a bomb going on.
So he flies it off into the city, and you see it blow up. It's well the way of Gotham. He flew at least like 10, 15 miles out in the ocean, and
it's only a 6-mile radius.
Yeah, so it's gonna kill a lot of fish, but and they're probably gonna catch some fish that have nuclear.
Batman didn't sign on to save fish, so.
Yeah, but then so that happened, and then you figure out the autopilot was fixed.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, Bruce Wayne's actually probably alive, so he probably like flew it out, then ejected or something. You never really know.
He had to eject or something,
but
yeah, and then like there's the funeral, and Alfred's finally back. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I failed you. And that's probably the one part of the movie where I was like, I probably could have cried.
Yeah, but he's like, I failed you. It's like, I failed you. So that was really, really great scene, and you see this John Blake part where John Blake's talking to this woman, and he's like, hey, let me give you my legal name. And then the woman's like, he's like, I like that name, Robin. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what? And I was like, so John Blake isn't Robin. His first name is Robin. Because Nolan's like, there's your Robin. Forget it now. But I mean, he
Yeah.
wasn't exactly Robin. He's not Dick.
It's good to see that Robin's involved in this Bat trilogy.
Yeah,
Though. I mean,
but
it's in this kind of Bat universe there is a Robin.
yeah, but I'm kind of, it would have been interesting if it's like here's my legal name. It's like, okay, Mr. Grayson or something like that. Okay, Mr. Drake, something like that.
Yeah, well, that would have been less familiar to
Yeah,
people. Who
yeah,
are
people, but like he just threw that in. He's like, so his name is actually Robin. He's not Robin. He's Robin, but he's not Robin.
And remember, Robin becomes Batman eventually.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just taking up the mantle as Batman
Yeah.
when he finds the
So
cave.
then he gets Bruce Wayne, or someone gave him coordinates to the Batcave. He goes in there, and then
That's what he was
Alfred.
getting when he gave him the name.
Yeah.
So.
So Alfred has had this vision throughout the movie where he goes to Florence, Italy, and he goes to this cafe, and he wants to see, he look over the table, and he sees Bruce Wayne there with like a wife and maybe some kids or something. And it shows him in the movie the first time he does it, and he looks over some random Italian dude with hair who looks like Bruce Wayne. And then but
It's like
so that happens, and then in the very last scene, he's sitting down at the table, and then he looks over and he sees Bruce Wayne with Selena Kyle, and it goes, and it makes that noise. And then the very last thing you see in the movie is you see John Blake walking to the little platform, and it rises up, and the water's falling down, and the music's all blasting, and
I like how, and then you also see like Commissioner Gordon, like he's looking at his papers and stuff like that, and then you see he sees the bat signal's been repaired, and he's like, really happy.
Oh yeah, and there's a statue of Batman and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But and they turn Wayne Manor into an orphanage.
Orphanage, yep.
Yeah, so that was really good, and then great, and then you obviously the last scene we see John Blake, you're like, oh, he's gonna become Batman. And then Batman, of course, is alive. He's run away with Catwoman. No one knows where Bruce Wayne's alive.
Yep.
A lot of people seem to randomly think that Michael Caine was like hallucinating. No, I'm like, why would he know? Why would he imagine Selena Kyle with him? Like, he's never even met Selena Kyle, really. He has, but he talks to her at the very beginning of the movie when she's pretending to be a maid. I think that's the one interaction they have. So I don't. Michael Caine is definitely not like hallucinating. He knows, he's seeing. That's definitely what he's seeing. I did interpret it though more so Batman died and Bruce Wayne lived. So Batman, arcing back to the Harvey Dent thing, died the hero and didn't live long enough to see himself become the villain, unlike Harvey did. So I thought that was just really great. The ending with this movie was so pitch perfect. It was just fantastic. It was one of the best endings I've seen in recent movie-ness. I don't think this ending was up for interpretation. I think it was more so like Christopher Nolan kind of made it seem that way, but it wasn't. It was definitely just a normal movie. So that's The Dark Knight Rises. We've talked about it for about 50 minutes.
Woohoo!
Wow. So leave in the comments down below if you stuck around for this entire video what you thought about The Dark Knight Rises. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was disappointing? Did it blow away your expectations and whatnot? And of course, please subscribe to me and Hutch.
Yes.
Because we're both.
Please subscribe to me.
Yeah, subscribe to Hutch. I'll leave a link to his channel if annotations work. For some reason, my annotations haven't been working lately. I don't know. Anyone else? Yeah, who cares? I mean, this is not a video about annotations not working. So
yeah, we'll show you about that later.
So thanks guys for watching.
We'll do a 50-minute commentary about how the annotations work.
Yeah. So thanks guys. Maybe we'll do about another commentary when Batman 4 comes out. No, just kidding. The Dark Knight Returns. Just kidding. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
All right.